pulled back today.
And we are live. Hello, everyone. How are you? Welcome to Life of a Home Cook. I'm Leona Dugley of Ebony Ivy Thyme, and my sister by another mister, Miss Denise Jordan
How you
of
doing?
Homemaking with Denise. We are so glad to have you here tonight. And Miss Denise, I'm looking over there in the chat and it is jumping. So it is going to be so much fun today. And we've even got Molly who is on vacation and she's with us anyway. Thank you, Molly.
Yes, thank you,
We
Molly.
really appreciate that. And you're being here. We got Alexandria's in. We got Hazel who's in. And I'm just kind of zipping through these quick just to say hi, hi, hi to those of you who have already jumped on. And we'll come back and do some more talking. But tonight we're kind of carrying on our self-care
Mhm.
category that we have been talking about this month. Last week we were
Oh
burning
my
it
goodness.
up.
Mhm.
Talking about the Black girls' shower routine. And we had such a good time.
We
And we
did.
got some things that we're going to tell you about that a little later as we go on in the show. But we're going to talk about lasting love. And I know
Mhm.
you probably looked at that and thought, now, where are you going with that, Willis?
They're very discreet.
Yes, we are. And it's going to be very clean. Now,
Mhm.
I went here because of the fact that whether you are dating, whether you can even be high school dating, college dating, whatever the situation may be, or you may be like us, 50 plus years in your relationship. The reality of it is that you may even be one of those people who's healing from the last relationship that didn't go so well. That happens, and it happens a lot when you're young, but it
Yes.
also happens when you're more mature. So
Mhm.
in thinking about all of that, we want all of us to have the same thing. We want a love that feels safe, that is joyful, and that is honest, and that is trusting. So, guys, let's get ready because we've got over 100 years combined between the two of us of good days and some rough days. And
Yes.
we have to be able to talk about both sides of it. And really in talking about relationships, it's not just about marriage. It can be a partnership. It could even, to be honest with you, could even be a business relationship. We're talking about
Mhm.
relationships in general. And so I welcome all of you back to Life of a Home Cook with us tonight. So, Miss Denise, what you got to say tonight?
You know, I was just thinking about this topic, and it's really so important. And you and I were talking just a little bit before the show started about how in today's society, so often the approach is everything is disposable.
Mhm.
Trade it in for something new, or let's, upgrade, that kind of thing. And that is something that as a woman of a certain age now, I think about because I've seen so often. I have to tell you, my freshman year of college, when
Mhm.
I my freshman year of college, when I was preparing to go off to school, one of the girls that graduated high school with me, we were going to the same university.
Mhm.
Her father divorced her mother and married someone that was like 2 years older than we were. So here we are.
Right.
I'm not kidding you not. That was my first realization that that kind of thing happened because I kept thinking, wait, she just, and so I think about longevity in relationships. And
Mhm.
in my family, most marriages have been long term. Now, I do have some aunts who were divorced, that kind of thing, but my parents were together until one of them died. And
Mhm.
one of her sisters, was married until, one left there, that kind of thing. So I've seen longevity in relationships. However, today's young people may not have seen that example. And
Mm,
so today's society, it's like disposable. So if it doesn't work, fine, I'm out of here. I can find somebody else and, move on.
mm,
So my thought is that it's a decision that you make that we're going to figure it out. We're
mm,
going to sort it out. Now, I'm not talking about anything related to abuse or anything like that.
mm, mm,
Anything like that's going on, you can try to sort some things out, but you know, if it's not working, then that's a whole different story. But if you can figure things out, it's worth it to salvage it. It's
mm.
worth it. So now let me quit. I'm on a soapbox already. I am so sorry. I am so
Well, now,
sorry.
Mr. Denise, I'm listening to you, and you know what comes to mind. The big guy's always saying, it's cheaper to keep her.
Yeah, I've heard that comment before too.
So,
But here's the other thing though, um that I've observed, especially if you're watching like TV programs and different things like that. You look about, the first wife is with the guy throughout all the ups and downs and helping them get established. And then when he's successful, he's looking for a trophy wife, and the trophy wife is able to live the success. So
mhm,
as my grandpa used to say, you need to get your dividends.
and
And
you're right.
my dividends.
You are right. And now, ladies, though, and gents, those of you who are in the chat, we are going to be real tonight. We
Mhm.
are going to just lay it out because we've had some situations, and Miss Janice had a chance to get started with some of her situations. And so, in the chat, tell us, what does a thriving relationship look like to you? What does it look like to you? Now, I'm going to start out with a story. I always got a story. Picture this couple. They're working in the kitchen. Well, after all, this is life of a home cook. They're in the kitchen together. She's chopping, he's stirring. They're joking with each other. Kind of sounds like Miss Denise and her hubby. They joke, they bump elbows, they share quiet prayers, and they're just moving around each other. And because they do that often, it almost even looks like a dance. Now, that's thriving.
Mhm.
That's thriving. It's not perfect. And I'm
Mhm.
sure it wasn't like that on day one,
No.
because it might have been, she's thinking, you're kind of in my way. And you left that pot over there, wherever it was, and it shouldn't have been. But, as we learn and our experiences get better, then we're able to handle the bumping and the rubbing and to
Mm.
do it joyfully. So those are
Yeah.
going to be some of the things that we take a look at. So let's take a look at the fact. Tell us in the chat, besides that thriving relationship, tell us what you think about that, what you think it is. We are looking at relationships. We've got married couples. And to be honest with you, as you look at unions today, they somewhat have gone into different categories along the way. We've
Mm.
got married couples, of course. We've got those who are dating. It used to be when you looked at a married couple, they were maybe within a few years of each other. And now it's back to that trophy wife, of where you may have someone who's 20 and he's 60, you know, and it makes it very difficult. And when I think about this, I think about some of the ladies at church. Look around some of those places. They're in there like 55 to 70. They would love to have, maybe the husband's passed and they're by themselves, and they'd like to have a thriving companion to be with. And so, it's a little scary to think about trying to get back out there and to
Mhm.
develop a new relationship. So, as we think about, I wanted to bring in some information, and we're going to be looking at it from the standpoint of being biblical, because that's important.
Mhm.
Now, one of the things that we really need to do. And this is a category that just seems to be messed up. And it's so funny that we had this at number one today because they talked about it on the news tonight.
Huh.
Communication,
Yes.
communication, because of cell phones, because of extended computer use, because of games, all of those things somehow or another are starting to get in the way of good communication. And, Miss Denise, we have talked about the fact that, at dinner time, it's a no phone zone. Don't bring that phone to the table. And
I
so,
like that idea. We went out yesterday to brunch to celebrate my birthday. And while we were sitting there talking, my husband was sitting across from me and he had his phone and he was scrolling. I just reached over and I took the phone and put it in my purse. And he said, "Oh, is it like that today, huh?" I said, "Yes, it is." And I thought, we're not going to be on the phone. This is my birthday brunch and we're going to connect with each other. And that is one of the issues today in so many families. Everyone is on their phone.
mhm,
And so people break up on the phone. They send you a text message to say, we're broken up or whatever. Whereas there was a time when people actually talked to one another. So I think
mhm,
communication is key, but not just when you say communication. What actually does that mean? Because when you look at communication, you also have to look at not just what is said, but
mhm,
how is it said. And
mhm,
I remember one of the things that, like, my husband and I have been to counseling off and on for several times. We've been married 52 plus years, and counseling is
mhm,
what has helped us to stay together. But I remember one year we were at the counselor, and he said that he felt like I talked down to him. And I'm like, "What do you mean I talked down to you?" Well, he felt like the tone of voice that I used at times was talking down to him. Now, I didn't have a clue what he was talking about.
mhm,
But I made it a point to try to figure it out
mhm,
because I thought, well, if he feels this, whether it's my reality or not,
mhm,
it's real to him. So one of the things that I have to do is watch the tone in which I say things. And sometimes if especially as moms and wives and busy women working and whatever, sometimes you just snap something out real quick and they take it the wrong way. And let me just
mhm,
share one episode. And I think I mentioned this to you, but I really hurt his feelings the other day. And I had said we had gone to a class reunion, and then the next day we had gone to a family member's house for like a follow-up brunch or dinner or whatever. And someone had made the comment about me dancing. And I said, "Oh yes, and my husband never takes me anywhere. So when I get out, I dance my little tail off." He was so hurt because
mhm.
when I said my husband never takes me anywhere, he internalized it. I was like, so when we got home, he mentioned it. And he said, "You said that in front of my brothers." I'm like, "Your brothers didn't think a thing about it." He says, "You don't know
Oh,
what they thought." And I'm like, "Well, honey, I'm sorry. I'm just making a little joke." I'm like, women say that all the time. But it made me think we do say those things
mhm,
all the time, but should we? So I try to be more careful now about just little throwaway comments because I'm thinking
mhm.
they didn't really believe that. So I'd be interested to see what the chat thinks about, some of this. But how you say it and what you say does make a difference. And as women, we are good with intonation. Like,
Oh, yeah.
we can do a great job with cutting somebody up one side and down the other
Mhm.
of voice, not the words, but the tone of voice. So I'm gonna quit
Oh,
talking now because you know how I can be.
and you know what? You know what? You hit it on the nose. Once you knew that his feelings were hurt,
Mhm.
what did you say?
I said, "I am sorry." I said, "I did not intend to hurt your feelings. I had no idea that
Mhm.
he would take it that way." And I
I
certainly
know.
don't believe his brothers took it that way. But
No,
like you said, you don't know what they thought, and I don't. But I don't
that's
think they
true.
would want that because they know we go places from time to time. But
Yes. But the
his
thing
feelings were hurt.
is, that's right. But the thing is, you were willing to say, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I didn't mean it that way. And you all were able to talk through it. But, so many times couples go, He may not have said anything.
Mhm.
You think everything's okay.
Mhm.
And whoo, he's over there smoking.
Yes.
And sometimes now I have a tendency, I hold things very quiet and I will keep it to myself. But my eyes say otherwise. I will slice you up with a look. And he will look at me and go, "Are we okay?" I'm going, "I'm fine."
I heard that tone of voice. I'm fine.
I'm fine. And so sometimes the communication that we're expressing, doesn't have to be ugly words. But
Mhm.
as young people, and I was talking to someone just as recently as a couple of days ago, young couple, and I'm a little concerned because they are so into this playful bantering back and
Mhm.
forth. And I mean, they're working together, they have a little one, they're doing all those kind of things. But I was just kind of listening to what they were saying back and forth to each
Mhm.
other. And I'm thinking, okay, you all are giggling now. But all it's going to take is one evening when one of you comes home and you're exhausted from work, or
Mhm.
something's happened and the baby has had a rough day, has given you a fit all day, and some of those comments aren't going to go well.
Mhm.
And it can start a spiral. And so
Yes.
you kind of get into those little quick quirks, and you just kind of go,
Mhm.
"Ooh, that could really go ugly," you
Yeah.
know. And so we really do have to be careful. Now, one thing that I've noticed, and Miss Denise, and then I'm gonna come over to the chat because they're blowing it up. One thing that when you're communicating, I am doing better with, because I haven't always done this, of where I will kind of start the conversation, with, honey, I'm really feeling
Mhm.
upset about this. I'm not feeling good about this.
Mhm.
And he's doing better with saying, you said so and so, and did you mean it that way? And
Mhm.
so when you can approach it from that standpoint, there's a level of, yes, it's in my head and I'm listening to it, but I'm trying to get it out there kindly.
Yeah.
Uh, you might even have maybe just a quick check-in with each other when things have just gotten too quiet, and
Mhm.
you're a little concerned, or you think you might have said something. You're not sure that you really said anything bad, but maybe it wasn't received well. Well,
Mhm.
it may be that you may need to check in and say, "Are you all right?"
Mhm.
And it could be that you're sitting and just having a conversation and said, you said so and so. Can you explain that?
Mhm.
Because I'm not really sure that I understand what you're expecting from me. And so kind of look into what it is that you want. Also, we have to remember, because all the communication is not always negative, we have to be able to open our mouths and say that we appreciate the other person.
Boom.
Oh, oh my goodness. Now I'm gonna tell you, and I told you guys, we're gonna be honest. In a relationship, you know that there are far too many single people out there who, shall I say it nicely, are just hunting for a good guy or a good woman. Let's just be real. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, "Oh, did you do that? Oh, that's amazing." Well, when he goes home, either wifey just kind of takes it for granted and, and
Not
ignores it.
wifey. Wifey's a wannabe.
Yes.
Playing house. So the wife.
Yes, the wife
Let's
is
clear this definition up.
just kind of takes it
Wifey's a
for granted.
wannabe.
Yeah, because she's used to seeing those kind of things.
Mhm.
So we have to make a conscious effort of saying, wow, I love when you take the trash out. Thank you, honey. I
Yes.
really appreciate that. Thank you for putting those dishes in the dishwasher. Thank
Yes.
you for sweeping the so and so. Ah, the yard looks wonderful. You know, oh
Exactly.
yeah.
You know, you're right, Leona, because those are things that we take for granted because we see them do these things all the time. And but you're so right in saying that the recognition, the small little recognition
Mhm,
that I see you and I appreciate what you're doing is helpful. So today my husband and I was helping one of my sisters take some boxes to the Goodwill. And so when we were in the car driving over there, I said, you know what? I said, I appreciate that you're willing to help. He's like, oh, well, no
mhm,
problem. But I wanted him to know that I appreciated the fact that he was willing to pick up them boxes, put them in the car, drive us over to wherever we were going to the donation center, get out the car and unload them. Because that was not something
mhm,
she and I could really do very well. I mean, we
mhm,
could have struggled with them. And
mhm.
he could have been out fishing today. But he helped us with that little task. And I wanted him to know that I appreciated it.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to take it. You yeah, and what you want to do too is that you want to encourage that
Mhm.
behavior. We have to think psychological.
Yeah,
We
we
want
want him
to
to do it again.
encourage the good behavior.
Yes.
Well, let's see over here. We've got
Girl, the chat's
Patricia
popping.
who's with us. Hello, hello. And she said, honestly, she doesn't even know what a thriving couple should look like. What she knew was wrong, and she's relearning. Well, Patricia, I think we've all been there too,
Mhm.
because I can think back, even though I've been married a very long time, I haven't forgotten those days of when,
Yeah.
you know, I had to kiss a few frogs before I got to the prince. And so the reality of it is now Miss Denise was lucky because they met high school, college, and I mean,
We were high school sweethearts. We started
oh,
dating senior year in high school.
wow. See,
Actually, yeah,
I
we
think
started dating
that's
senior year in
amazing.
high school. But
Yeah.
you know, and it's that cliche. We started dating senior year in high school. We went off to college together. But the interesting thing though was when we did go off to college together, he was at IU in Bloomington. I was there too. But
Mhm.
after 1 year, I had to leave IU Bloomington and go to IU in Indy because the medical center was there. So for the courses
Mhm.
I needed, I had to leave there. So then that gave us some distance apart. But it was good. It was interesting.
That's good.
Well, I
Well,
like this.
Charlene is with us tonight, and she said that she thinks the ability to really forgive and each other and absolutely hear each other out and absolutely no secrets. And
Mhm.
that's absolutely right. That goes back
Yeah.
to that trust
Mhm.
and being able to be honest. And,
Mhm.
in today's world, honesty is not always a big ticket item. It's hard to find people who are truly honest.
And forgiveness too. Could you back up
Yes.
for a second to that one? That's a
Mhm,
big ticket item too. And we talked about that in church last Sunday. Pastor talked
mhm.
about the ability to forgive. Because if you can't forgive and it's weighing you down, it's going to continue to interfere with your relationship. So forgiveness, you have to forgive
Mhm.
and let it go and rebuild. So yeah, that's important too.
That's true. Ola's with us tonight. She says she went on eHarmony and she can't wait for it to end and not waste money anymore. She said it was a waste of her time and her money and she gave up. Well, Ola, don't I won't say I can't make any judgments about
Me.
eHarmony, but you know what? I do believe that if you are truly looking for someone, and what I found when because I was 26 when we met, and I wasn't looking for anybody. I just gotten out of a crazy relationship and that this guy was dating, and I really was just over it. And that was when Prince Charming walked in. So the frog left, Prince Charming came in. But I recognize it now as being a God thing.
Yes.
And so I have to accept it as that. And so That's not to say that even though I know it was a God thing, we still had our ups and downs.
Oh
We had the hills and the valleys, and I had to do some growing up. He had to do some growing up.
oh, we
All
definitely
of that,
one.
but we did it together. We did it together. And for someone who is in a relationship, it is not it is not for wimps. You
No.
got to be tough, because think of it this way. We talk about the that we are in a war, a spiritual war, and when you're dealing with a spiritual war, it's a battle. It's a battle every day. And so, thinking of relationships, it really is a spiritual battle. So there are going to be some good days when it looks really good, and then bam, there it's going to be. So we just have to continue to stay faithful, stay true, and stay prayed up, and continue to move forward as best we can.
Mhm.
Brittany said that she thinks a thriving relationship is one compromised of respect, communication, and grace.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It has taken she and her husband 10 years to understand this, but the first step is keeping God first. Brittany, that's funny you said 10 years, because it took us 10 years to finally find the level, a level.
Mhm.
And that first 10 years, ooh-wee.
Girl.
Ooh.
And you know what, Leona, when she talks about those first 10 years, sometimes it might last even a little bit longer, but during those first years of the relationship, you're getting to know one another. Then it's almost as if you go through this competition stage, like one's trying to, outdo the other, or one's trying to be right or whatever. And, both of y'all trying to be right, that kind of thing. And it takes a while to get to the point that you realize it's not a competition.
Mhm,
It's about us building a unit together
mhm.
where we can live together in harmony and raise a family.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Now, how many of you have ever taken a sticky note, put some kind of little sweet note on it, and
Mm.
placed it hide it in the briefcase, or stick it in his car, or maybe I know I sent flowers one time to Conway at work, and it was so funny. The ladies at work gave him the hardest time for months because his wife had given him flowers,
Mhm.
and they thought it was so cute. And so, but I wanted him to know that as much as I appreciate, because he would send flowers, and I wanted him to know that I appreciated that, and I was willing to reciprocate. And
Mhm.
so, so sometimes we have to flip that switch back and forth. Let's
Mhm.
see, we've got Shara. Charlene Jackson. Hello, Charlene. She said both her parents and grandparents were together until one passed away.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. We had I think back to couples that I know that have been together forever,
Mhm.
and I love it. I love it. And I've seen them go through, good days and bad days, and you can
Mhm.
kind of tell, when it's a good day. You can also tell when it's one that may not be the best, but they get through it, and they're
Mhm.
able to get on the other side of it. Miss J is with us. Hi, Miss J.
Miss J.
And she said communication and open minded. Yes, God first. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hazel said, um, she thinks being compatible is important. And Hazel, you're right. And sometimes, and I blame this on television,
Mhm.
sometimes the things that young people see
Yes.
on television give them a distorted view. as to the person they should be looking for. Especially I'm going to start with boys, and the fellas. It's hard for them to look for a partner, especially if they're TV viewers, because they're looking for the ladies that look like the housewives of Atlanta, and where they got the glam and the whole to do. But the reality of it is that most young people at that age, they don't have money to do all of that,
No.
and they're looking, they're not looking at the heart. They're looking at what's on the outside of the person rather than looking at what's on the inside of the person. Mobile home mama said she and her hubby have been together almost 20 years, and she thinks the last 4 have been the best. Yay! When he gave his life to the Lord, she said it was a huge turning point. And that is fantastic. And sometimes it's just it's a matter of when you do things differently.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're absolutely right. Um, Ola said tone is everything. We were talking about how you say things.
Mhm.
Absolutely, because sometimes things can come across ugly. Patricia was telling me, really, Ola, she said she's considering doing something like that, going to eHarmony and wanting to figure out why it was a waste. So, that's something I do. I've got a friend right now that we talk almost every day, and she met her husband on eHarmony,
Mhm.
and they have had a beautiful 15-year relationship.
Well, when you think about it, back in the day, you met your partner either in high school, or you met them in college, or you met them in church, or
Hmm.
you met them at work, or somewhere in your community. You met them. Somebody said, you know what, my brother has a friend or whatever. But today, for some reason, a lot of people no longer go to church. So that circle is out for a lot of people.
Hmm.
Most people are more and more in their homes. So online is, or you might have met them in a bar, like in a
Hmm.
nightclub or something
Hmm.
like that. You might have met someone when you go out with your friends. But these days, that's not how they're meeting people.
No.
So it's online relationships that they are entertaining. And
Hmm.
sometimes you meet a frog and sometimes you meet a prince. It just varies.
You're absolutely right. Uh, I think it's pronounced Nishello. Apologies go a long way. You are absolutely right. We have to be willing to say, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And we need to say, please. You know,
Yes.
the things that we teach our children that should be appropriate to do, we have to set those examples as well. And we've got Ronnie here with us tonight. Hello, Ronnie.
Hey,
We're
Ronnie,
so
it's
glad you're
always good
here.
to see
2
you.
weeks in a row. All right. We got
Yes.
Tamara with us. She said this information is in value, true Titus 2 women. Oh,
Oh,
well, I hope
Tim,
so.
thank
We are
you.
working every day, because, these kind of things, it's not just something you're going to do one day and not do it the next. We've got
Mhm.
to continue to work. Now, another thing, we're trying to work on really making time for each other.
Mhm.
And I had Miss Denise and I were on the phone. Was it yesterday or day before? And we were talking about this script. And yeah, it was Monday night. And so I was saying, I said, well, Miss Denise, I said, I was naming a few things that I was thinking about bringing up for tonight. And so we were screaming. We were screaming. I know my husband, we had already been on a meeting for an hour. Then we were another hour where we were just going
Okay.
back and forth. But it was so much fun. But this is one where it doesn't mean that you have to go out on expensive dates.
Mhm.
We need to go out on dates even after 50 years.
Yes.
We go out every Sunday. We go out for dinner. That's an automatic. We might go to the movies or something during the week. We may go and have a picnic, and just to do something fun. And so it could be that we're folding the laundry together, or like the other day, we were actually working in the kitchen together, doing some things. What's some of your kind of low key favorite quality time moments that you just love? I know one, you love packaging that fish for honey.
You know what, though? That's one of those things that we do. And I don't know how I got started with that, but he was working on it. And, he would get the fish already. Then he would get out the vacuum sealer. And I thought, you know what? I can help him do that. And it could get done so much easier. And I can keep the kitchen a little bit neater as well. So we started doing that. And that's just one of those things that I just do to help him every
Mhm,
week. And he is very appreciative, and he'll always thank me when we're done. He said, "Now, thank you for helping me with this because they can get it done a lot easier. I get the bags ready, he gets the fish ready, and then
mhm,
I put the cup in the bag, hand him the bag, he stuffs the bags with the fish, I vacuum seal it, and then we get them put away."
mhm,
And it's just a nice little thing to say, "I see you." Because
mhm,
I saw him struggling to get all that done. And I'm usually not doing anything while he's in there. Because if I want to do something in the kitchen, I got to wait till he has to get out anyway. So I'm like, okay, I can just help him do that.
yeah,
And it's just one of those little things that we do.
mhm,
And one of the other things that I've started doing lately is sitting out on the porch with him.
mhm,
Now, he sits out on the porch a lot once he's finished with whatever he's doing. He'll sit out there, he'll take his speaker out there, plug his phone in, and now you got, what is it, Pandora blasting some kind of music, all over. And he'll be sitting there listening to the music. The cat will come and sit somewhere close by. And I'll see him out the window. And I thought, you know what, go out there and join him.
mhm,
And I'll just go out there and I'll take my iPad or take my phone and I'll just sit. Maybe we'll chat about a few things. Maybe we'll talk about the cat. We
mhm,
might, maybe I've talked to one of the kids more recently than he has. So we'll talk about that or whatever. But we'll just sit there and just enjoy that companionship.
mhm,
And I remember I had been talking to a couple girlfriends a few years ago, must be more than a few years ago, because I said one of the things that I look forward to is he and I sitting on the porch, him drinking a beer and me drinking lemonade. Well, I didn't have the lemonade, I was drinking water. But we were just sitting there on the porch, just enjoying the
mhm,
fresh air and just enjoying a nice summer day.
mhm,
And it's a little thing. And so
mhm,
when he says, "Well, what do you do want to do for your birthday?" And I says, "Well, I want to go out on the water. Just you and me go out in the boat. I'm just going to sit there, relax in the boat. I'll take a picnic and we can just, just float. You can fish. I might fish a little bit. I usually might throw the line out for maybe 10 minutes. And then I'm just sitting there relaxing, either reading or watching him or whatever. But just that quiet time. Now, we're here at the house by ourselves all the time anyway. It's just the two of us and the cat here. However, going out on the boat on the water, like making a special date to go and do
mhm,
this, or even a picnic in the park is different because it just puts a
mhm,
whole different spin on it.
mhm,
We need that after 52 plus years of marriage.
mhm,
We still need that.
mhm, mhm. Well, Miss Denise, this is a great time to bring in our thoughts about last week's show. Ladies, those of you who weren't here, or gentlemen who weren't here last week, you missed a fun time in
Mhm.
talking about the Black girl shower routine. We had a ball.
A ball.
And, both of us have stories about how what the reactions have been. They've been very favorable. But I think, in talking about just the small things, it could be that you're just cooking their favorite meal,
Mhm.
because his classic line is whenever he sees macaroni and cheese, he assumes that I'm fixing macaroni, that the kids are coming over, because he knows that that's usually their first request. And the other week I fixed macaroni and cheese and he said, "Are the kids coming?" And I said, "No." And he said, "So who's coming?" I said, "No one. I fixed it for you." And so he was thrilled. And it was so funny because everybody he talked to, Leona fixed macaroni and cheese. I have macaroni and cheese. She only fixes that for when the kids are coming. But it
Uh-huh.
was just that one particular thing, and sometimes we'll go out on a walk together.
Yeah.
Um, and it's because you're making that effort.
Hmm.
And it's an effort really that both of us are doing together. And
Yeah.
he's kind of gotten into, that plan too. But you'll have to tell a little bit about your response of.
Well, I've been married 52 years, and my husband has never had a strong sense of smell. He just can't smell very well. Like I was telling you earlier, he'll be sitting in the family room watching TV. The fire department will knock down the front door. They'll be in the kitchen spraying the stove off because the house is full of smoke. He'll be like, "Oh, was there smoke? Because I didn't smell anything." So his sense of smell is very depressed. So last night, I have been like really tired. So I thought I'm going to take a bath tonight first and just kind of soak in the tub, layer my sense that way. And then I had gotten this I had put this on my birthday list, the African net sponge. So I
Mhm.
put it on my birthday list and my sister got it for me. And so I put an orange one on there. So she got it for me. And so I used it last night and I know it still smells good from the soap that
Mhm.
I put in it. So I used it last night and I layered some scents with that. So I started out with this jasmine bar soap, and then I layered that with this orange scented shower wash.
Mhm.
And I stood up, just showered all that off, and then I put on the body oil, and I tried the Vaseline Intensive Care cocoa oil.
Mhm.
That oil is so rich and thick, but it was really
Yeah.
nice. And then I put the body mist on top of that, the lotion on, well, the oil, the lotion, the
Mhm.
fragrance mist,
Mhm.
and then and I had gotten a new fragrance mist for my birthday from my sister, so I put that on as well,
Mhm.
and put on my nightgown, got in bed. So and I snuck it up to him like I always do, and he says, "What do you have on?" I'm like, "A nightgown, like every night." And he says, "No." He says, "You smell good. Do you have?" I'm like, he smelled. I'm like, he said, "You smell good." I said, "Oh." I said, "Well, I got on a new body spray that, Max gave me for my birthday." But all the different scents that I had later, and I'm like, he noticed it. And
Mhm.
it made me feel good, number one, that he was able to notice it. Because typically when I'm wearing perfume, I'm wearing it for me because I'm like, he's not going to be able to smell it. But he was able to smell it last night. And I tell you, it really lifted my spirits that
Mhm.
he noticed. And it
Absolutely.
also lifted his spirits that he feels like I am making this effort for the two of us, for our relationship. So yeah, it
Mhm.
was good. So I was talking to a girlfriend, well, one of my little sisters the other day in that meeting we were in Monday night.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so we were talking about the shower routine. And she was like, "Miss Denise," she said, "I ain't got 45 minutes to take no shower." I said, "You got a young husband. You better find 45 minutes."
Mhm.
And then she just started laughing. And one of the other girls on the call just cracked up because I don't believe I said that. But every now and then it's like, okay, you need to make some time for some certain things. But it was just, and it was all in fun. But I was just so pleased that he noticed it. And I just love, love, love my authentic African
Well, you know what? Those of you who are in the chat, what are some of your favorite quality time activities that you like to do? And say you and hubby, or if you don't have a husband, I know some of you may be at that dating stage or whatever it may be, but add those things in. Now, here's a really important one:
oh,
to pray and
yeah.
to reflect together. We typically, I know this is something I do, is that, when I get up in the morning, I have my quiet time, do my devotion. And typically he's not even up, he's still sleeping. But we make it a point, as we sit down to breakfast, we typically, and we eat together.
Mhm.
And so, we'll sit down and we pray. And he laughs all the time because I wait for him to come to the table and for him to pray. And so occasionally he'll say, "Will you pray today?" And so, whichever the case may be.
Mhm.
But there is something powerful about hearing that other person pray for you.
Ah.
And it is powerful. It is inviting God into your relationship,
Mhm.
and it just really grounds the two of you. And plus, you're taking that time
Mhm.
not only say to each other, but to also invite God and to say, Lord, we're here. We're here because of you. We're
Mhm.
depending on you, and we're inviting you to continue with us on this journey.
Mhm.
And we go to church together, and it's funny because I guess we've gone to church together so much. Typically, I'm already dressed and downstairs. I never know what he's going to put on. And it's so funny because so often on Sunday, he'll come down the steps and we almost look like twins. It's like I have laid his clothes out. And the ladies laugh at church because we'll come in. They say, "Did you all plan that outfit?" And we're going, "No." you know, but it just works out that way. But
Mhm.
it's something that praying together is important. And sometimes, young people lose that, or they never start that.
Yeah.
And whether it's eating together and have a designated time for dinner or for lunch or for
Mhm.
breakfast, when you have those opportunities, take them to
Mhm.
sit down together
Yeah.
and
I
to
think
have
it's so
prayer.
important. I remember my family, we always ate together. Even when I was a girl at home, well,
Mhm,
the kids ate together in the kitchen. Mom and dad ate in the dining room. We had to eat in the kitchen. Now, I thought when I grow up, we gonna all eat together. Because I
mhm,
felt like, mom and dad in the dining room and us in the kitchen. Well, as I look back on things now, there were six of us. So six kids around the kitchen table, they probably just wanted a little peace and quiet at mealtime. So the two of them sat down and had a little peace and quiet, and we were in the kitchen, the six of us, keeping up all kind of noise. But I swore when I grow up, we're gonna all eat together. So, and that is what
mhm,
we did. We all had our meals together at, well, dinner, because when kids are starting activities and different things like that. But we always had dinner together. 5:30, I
mhm,
thought, was civilized dinner time. So 5:30, 6 o'clock, we had dinner every night.
mhm,
And some of the kids' friends would tease, saying we did TV-ish things. They felt like
mhm,
only TV families did that.
mhm,
I'm like, well,
mhm,
we're not a TV family. We're real people. But I thought
mhm,
it was important for us to sit at the table together, have a
mhm,
meal together, and talk.
mhm,
And that's what our kids and their families do today. They tend to sit down and eat together and they
mhm,
talk. Now, I'm not saying that there's always in the kitchen. Sometimes one family might be, on little trays in the other room or whatever. But it's the example that you set that makes a difference. And then they take from that example what they
mhm,
will, and then they mold or build their own families around that. But even
mhm,
today, like now, since we're both retired, I decided one of the things that I was not going to let happen was for us to start eating at different times and him in there all the time
mhm,
and trying to hear me in the kitchen. So when I retired, like, look, we're going to continue to eat together like we always have. Now,
mhm,
sometimes he'll say, do you mind if I eat in the other room? Because he might be
mhm,
one, like, no, go ahead. But
mhm,
most of the time, we have dinner in the kitchen. And if I make breakfast, then
mhm,
or if he makes breakfast, we'll have breakfast together in the kitchen as well.
mhm, mhm.
Lunch, hit or miss, depending on what's going on. But eating together is a nice social event. And it shouldn't just happen when you go out to dinner.
And that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. It's important for us um, to make that special
Mhm.
effort. And you said something real powerful too, in that I know we used to have, heaven only knows, it was nothing to have 4 kids in there that didn't belong to me at dinner
Uh-huh.
time, and the kids' friends that might be there at that particular time,
The
and they
Kool-Aid.
thought it was, yeah, they thought it was so cool. We were all, because everybody, no matter how many it was, we all had chairs at the table, and we
Mhm.
all prayed together. And it was so funny because even today, they're adults, but they still talk about the fact of having dinner around that table and how
Yeah.
much fun it was. And, one mom even said, she said, he came home and said, Mom, we're going to have dinner all together like they do over at Miss Dooley's house. And that was really a lot of fun.
Mhm.
But she worked. And she worked at a time that she couldn't even start her dinner until
Mhm.
like 6 o'clock in the evening. So she was late. So
Yeah.
she said by the time dinner time came, everybody was into homework and whatever else was going on. And so, I could certainly understand that. But she was kind enough to come and say, Thank you. I
Yes.
appreciate your adding him to a part of your family. So, those are
Well,
things that.
those things there though too, like that mom, she couldn't
Mhm,
do that during the week, but you can create that on Sunday or on Saturday.
absolutely.
Like create Sunday dinner as
Mhm,
a family thing because
mhm,
she's not available during the middle of the week.
mhm. You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Charlene saying that praising him for the smallest things, like thinking of you and bringing you a Starbucks. Let him know that you're thankful because it's much more than a cup of coffee. It's the fact that he thought of her. And that in and of itself says a lot. You're absolutely right. This is funny. Ronnie said, Oh my. She said she gave I'm fine attitude just this afternoon to her husband. She said, but she snapped out of it real quick. you know, and that brings us to our
Mhm.
next comment, because as we have to handle these moments with grace,
Yes.
with mercy.
Yeah.
There are going to be
Mhm.
times when things are just going to jump out of your mouth and you're going to go, oh, did I say that?
Mhm.
And
Yeah, like
oh, did I let that come out?
mhm.
And you really didn't mean for it to come out that way, but it just did. And so, but that works on both ends,
Mhm.
So we have to realize that there are going to be rough moments, and sometimes things are going to be said that may not necessarily be the best things to be said, or you said it and you didn't mean it the way it came out. It just happened.
Mhm.
So I know my mother was good at always saying, "Put a little sugar on it."
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you're going to say, even
Mhm.
if it's really
Mhm.
really bad, and that you've got to tell him, just changing that tone of voice. And
Mhm.
so Crystal, hi Crystal, is here with us tonight, and she's saying the tone of voice sometimes needs you to stay in your lane. Stay in your lane is not always a bad thing. That look and I'm fine makes everything on the open keel in her house. Um, yeah, sometimes we do need to stay in our lane, but sometimes it just kind of gets out there. So we have to be ready to use those good words, honey. I really didn't mean it quite that way, and but those are some of the things sometimes we forget to do. So where are you?
I was looking at mobile home mama.
Okay, okay. She must be a little farther down. I don't see her yet.
Yeah, she's further down. You
Okay.
get to her.
All righty. So Nashello said that marriage is the hardest relationship you'll ever have, but it's so worth it.
It
You're
is.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And just to say, I don't know about you, Miss Denise, but when I got married, oh my goodness, I thought he was sweet tea. And
Well,
Look
it's a
at
good
you.
thing you did. That tends to why
Yes.
we marry them.
Absolutely. But you know what? You know, when you look back at the things that made you that just endeared you to that person at that point,
Hmm.
compared to where we are now, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
I mean, the love that is there is so different.
Oh, very.
And I was a pistol. I have to admit, I was somewhat of a pistol.
Well,
And so,
not only that, but you think about it when you first start that relationship, you got hormones raging, and your idea of what love is, and you're looking for a partner to build that nest with. So you're
mhm,
like at the very beginning of that life cycle,
yeah,
and um, so what you expect and look for and how you look for it is completely different than like 30 years later. So if you were looking for a mate today compared to 30 years ago, your
mhm.
frame of reference would be completely different.
You're absolutely right. And I have friends who are looking for companions, and
Mhm,
they're struggling
mhm.
because, and it's for that reason, because their expectations at this point are so different
Yes.
from what it would have been had they been 20 or
Mhm.
18, 20 to 30. And it's hard to look for that person. You've got a more mature eye at that
Yeah.
point. Now, Emma's saying that she said that they totally do the banter thing that I mentioned with a young couple. She says she thinks the media at her age, she's a Gen Z, saw teens really promote that way of speaking in relationships. She said, but they're very careful though. Well, that's a good thing, Emma. That's
Yeah.
a
I
good
never
thing.
thought all that smart mouth and stuff was
Mhm.
appropriate and that it was healthy.
I didn't either, and maybe because I'm kind of sensitive,
Mhm.
to what you say, and sometimes what somebody else thinks is light
Mhm.
and cute isn't cute to me.
Isn't. No.
And so we never started that. Um, Tamika says she is really enjoying this conversation. She's thankful for making this live tonight. Well, we are certainly
We're
glad,
glad to
Tamika, that
hear.
you are with us tonight. Um, Ola says she used to write with erasable marker on the mirror when she was married. And he would, I guess, see it on the way to work. She'd leave him messages. Oh, that's cute.
I like
And
that.
I like that. I like that. Well, I'm a post-it note. So I would do the post-it note in the car. And before this night's over, I'm going to tell you all a secret of something I did because my hubby traveled for 30 years of our, at least of our 50 years. And there's a couple of things that we'll throw in later on. Now, let's see. Oh, Ola said it was easier years back. Um, and times have certainly changed. She's self employed. Yep,
Hmm.
that's true. That's true. It times really have changed. It
Yeah.
is it is difficult. Let's see. Alexandria says she didn't know till recently, but females have 50% more scent receptors than men. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Huh.
You know, though, that's funny she said that because on the Lion King, Mustafa, or the
Mhm.
latest Lion King,
Uh-huh.
they talked about that, how the female lions were the ones that could scent, and that's why they the ones that hunted, because they
Mhm.
could scent things in the air and they would hunt, whereas the male lions couldn't smell things quite as well as they did. I had
How
no clue.
about that? Well, I figure somebody knew that because that's why, there are so many different scents for women. And
Mhm.
they're just now really getting big. Well, I won't say just now, but it took a little while for men's cologne to make it along the way. Tamara is saying that making the effort, the two is important, and she's learning after almost 14 years of marriage. And
Yeah.
Tamara, it's in every we're all learning every day. And the thing of it is that your relationship changes along the way. So, as years go by, you can't treat relationship, I don't treat my relationship today the way I did earlier. I'll say even the first 25,
Mhm.
because the relationship shifted. And when it really shifted, almost to the point of being frightening, was when we retired. When we both retired, I was a nervous wreck because I had never, let me just say, I had never spent so many hours together. We weren't used to that. We from day one both worked. We both went out that door. I left a few minutes before him, but we were both going out that door. We pretty much came in about the same time. But I never spent 24/7 with this man.
Well, that's funny that you say that because Will and I did do a lot of that. We were together in college. So, you're down there in college, and it's
Oh.
just you and your friends. And so you go to class. But when you get out of class, you're spending your time with each other. You playing, he's on a basketball team, you're going over to the gym, you sitting there watching the guys play, whatever, that kind of thing. So we spent a lot of time together, walking around campus, sitting, outside the dorms and different things like that. So we spent a lot of time together.
Mhm,
And then when you got married, and then we got married, and then we had our children early, and then we had jobs. So that was what
mhm,
really, when you have the children and then you have the jobs, that things really started to change as far as the amount of time. But still, you had your time in the evening, but that
mhm,
time is now divided between you
mhm,
and the little people, that kind of thing. So when we retired, I felt like, well, when I retired, because he retired first, I'm like, okay, now it's back to the beginning,
mhm,
just the two of us, and then we have all this time to spend together. So
mhm,
I was looking forward to that.
mhm.
But as you say, the time spent was different. And my mom used to complain about my dad was driving her crazy when he retired. And I couldn't understand why. But when I retired and then he was there all day, I'm like, okay, now I see what she means.
Mhm, mhm. Well, it took, I'm gonna say, about a month
Mhm,
for us to settle in of
mhm.
having each other in the house at the same time,
All the time.
and all the time.
Mhm,
And it really was a force to be reckoned with. And because even though I had the summers off, when all of us were out of school, he was still working, so he wasn't home. But then both of us are home, and it's like, whoa.
mhm.
And he's got thoughts as to what we should be doing for the day. Well, I've already planned what I'm going to be doing for the day, and so it's
Did you
like,
guys notice I've already planned what I'm doing for the day? Did you notice the little neck roll and the tone of voice?
and it's like, well, I'm going. So it was like, ooh, okay, I've got to rethink this.
Mhm, mhm,
So, it changes all throughout. Mobile home mom, this is funny. She said she loved last week's live. Said she caught the replay. She said she used mostly fragrant free stuff. She said, but she did get a coconut body scrub today. And hubby says, it smells so good.
That's not the one I was talking about.
Oh, she's got another one?
She's got another, and let me see if I can find it.
Okay.
It's down about six
Oh, I
comments.
see it. I see it. Okay. She said her hubby and I pray together daily. She said we eat at the table as a family of 8. And then in the evening, we lay in bed and watch TV together without phones. We laugh, chat, cry, and get frisky.
Cracked up when I
I
saw
love it. I love it.
it.
I
Mhm.
love it. Well, you know what? That's a good thing. That's a
That's a
good
good
thing.
thing.
And speaking while we're here, at this point, for those of you who are just coming in, this seriously, as we talk about self care, we're talking about self care for ourselves. And certainly last week was really focused on us. But
Mhm,
ultimately, we're doing it for ourselves, but we're
mhm.
also doing it for our relationship.
Yes.
And sometimes you're just doing it, if you're single, you're doing it just because you want to be able to get in that bed and smell good, along the way. But for those who have partners, our friends, with benefits, or whatever it may be along the way, we want to be able to have the best relationship that
That's
we can
possible.
possibly have.
Hmm.
And just to throw this out, one thing to think about is the fact that as we talk about these relationships, do understand they are not limited to our one to one relationship,
Hmm.
marriage, husbands, whatever. Even our relationships that we have with those that we work with,
Hmm.
some of these things work.
Hmm.
And in talking with a friend who is a psychiatrist, she said, this is a really good subject. She said, for all of us. She
Hmm.
said, because we need to get back to having good relationships and
Yes.
having positive relationships. And as our children see those positive relationships, because they're really the ones that we want to see it, because we saw our parents,
Hmm.
most of us, hopefully, prayerfully, saw good relationships. We saw them maybe go through those hills and valleys,
Yeah,
but we saw them
definitely.
come out on the other end.
Hmm.
And so they need to know that they will go through hills and valleys and that there is a positive end. And so those are some of the things that we're trying to instill in our families. And sometimes we don't have to say a word, it's
Hmm.
what they see along the way. So we've got um, we've got Clarissa here with us.
Hey,
Hello,
Clarissa.
Clarissa. She said she and Hubs enjoy taking rides together and they also pray together.
I
I
like
tell
it.
you what, I love it. Um, Tutu, hi. She said they played with the grandkids and reminisce about when they were kids and when they were that young. And
Hmm.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, we kept our grandkids for their first 2 years, all of them, each of them, and which was really a lot of fun. And we did that together. And I tell you, it took us back because when we had our children, we were still working. So there were a lot of things, and he talks about even now. He says, I really missed all of that. He said, you got all of that, but he was traveling. So he missed a lot of the interactions, those little interactions with the kids. So that's always a lot of fun.
See if
Uh,
you can pick up a Charlene.
okay,
8:45, Charlene.
okay. Shirley, okay, I got her. Charlene says that hubby and she had been married for almost 40 years, but the hardest thing was becoming empty nesters. We were so used to taking care of kids, we had to learn to just be us all over again.
That's absolutely right.
Ooh, you are so right.
Hmm.
And the thing of it is that um, I see couples even today who have each of them are going out the door. And when they come home, many of them are bringing work home with them,
Hmm.
or they work from home and it's kind of like they never turn it off.
Get off.
And so they kind of lose the connection with themselves. Everything seems to be about work. And it's hard because when they become empty nesters, it's kind of like, okay, I'm hoping you can find and rekindle the fire that you had that brought you together initially. And, Charlene, I am so glad, that you have been able to get through that. And that is certainly an example of something that I think our young homemakers need to know, that once those kids are out the door and you shut that door, it's awfully quiet.
And you have to figure out something to do differently now, because your relationship now is not the same as when you first got together. You know,
Mhm,
a lot of those sparks and all that kind of thing have changed. I didn't
mhm,
say they're gone, but they have certainly changed.
mhm,
And so you have to figure out, so what is our relationship going to be like now? And
mhm,
it's a concerted effort that the two of you have to make to start dating again, to start finding some interest in common. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to feel like you have to do everything together, but you
mhm.
definitely want to have some things that you do together. And those date nights and things like that are going to be so important. So important. Because you got to find your way back to just the two of you, because that's how
Mhm.
it started out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Shellos is saying to Charlene, she said that empty nesting is so hard. You have to relearn the marriage. And
Yes.
that is so true,
Mhm.
so true. And I have to tell you, that's something that I had some ladies that gave me advice before as I was getting married, but nobody mentioned the empty nester
Nope,
stage.
they didn't.
And so that was something I had to work out. Mobile Home Mama said that she's truly blessed to be a stay at home mom and homemaker. She says she homeschools their children and takes care of her dad. She rests before hubby gets home, so she has energy for him.
She's got
Ah,
the right
ha,
idea.
ha, ha.
Mhm.
Okay. I
And you
love
know,
it.
one of my sister-in-laws used to do that. Her husband
Mhm,
worked the second shift. They
mhm,
had they have four children. Now their kids are all grown and out the house now. But when they were younger, she said what she would do is once she got the kids put to bed, she would take her shower, get herself together. And so she would
mhm,
be awake and alert when he came home, because he got home. Like I said, he worked the second shift. And she said sometimes he would just have a cup of coffee, maybe a piece of pie while he had his dinner, because he came in late and she would leave things on the warm for him, but just to have a little bit of quiet time, just the two of them. So yeah, you got to make it work for your cycle, whatever the time frame is that that your house has.
mhm. Well, too, that is another reason why it's so important that children have good bedtimes.
Yes. Hmm.
This thing of letting your littles stay up until 9, 10 o'clock or whenever they feel like
I
falling
didn't want to see
asleep
kids after 9 o'clock.
doesn't work for me. My kids went to sleep when they were teeny tiny. By 7 o'clock, everybody had a bath and was in the bed.
Hmm.
Eventually, when they got to high school, it was 8:30, 9 o'clock. 8:30, they had to be in the room, and by 9 o'clock, lights out,
Hmm.
unless they had some kind of project that they were working on. Then that was different, but that wasn't every night.
But in
And
the room.
yeah, but they were in their room. And so, something I ran across, Denise, I saw this verse and it really spoke to me. It says, "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ forgave you."
Hmm.
And I think that's, for those who are in the Word, they we know that Christ forgives us unconditionally. And so if we have that attitude with our spouses, with our partners, then we wouldn't hold the grudges that we do. So many of us hold grudges along the way. And so Ephesians 4 was powerful. And I'm always, I have to come back to it. We're getting ready to get to that part that I think everyone's going to want to hear. We're going to physical affection, and stop. We're not talking about sex. So we're just going to put
We
that out there.
can.
We're not talking about that. Now, we're talking about the hugs, the little smooches.
Hmm.
When hubby and I sit in church, we hold hands. Of course,
Hmm.
we hold hands when we sit next to each other most of the time anyway.
We do at church.
And or we have they laugh at church. They said you can't even breathe between the two of them, but that's just the way we sit. We're the
Hmm.
movie. We're all close to each other. Why not? We did it early, so why not do it now?
Hmm.
So physical affection
Hmm.
is not. And as you get older, you know, I'm not saying sex isn't there. I'm saying that's not at the top of the list.
No, things do change.
It does.
Things
And
change.
so physical affection is important. So it says, the Song of Solomon was really nice. It said, I have found the one whom my soul loves. I held him and I would not let go.
Mhm.
Now, as we love those who we are with, we have to remember we're going to hold them and we are not going to let go.
Are you about to talk about that 3 minute hug?
I am. That's where
'Cause
we're
I
going.
tried that today.
Did you? How'd it
I
go?
did. I tried that today. He had come in to tell me something. I was at the sink, and sometimes he'll come in and just kind of nuzzle behind my neck. So I thought, oh, this is a good time to do the little hug things. I turned around and I was hugging him. And then he was getting ready to go out do something. And I just kind of held on and just hugged a little more and was leaning my head. He's like, you all right? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just so now you go ahead and talk about it. But I tried, I told you I was gonna try it.
Years ago, I'm going to say about 10 or 11 years ago, there was a pastor who was at our church and he was talking. Most of the time we have ladies groups or whatever, you have a lady who's talking. Well, we had a male who came to our, and he was sharing with us how, from the male perspective, of how he felt like, some things that men desired. And one of the things he said is that men miss those close moments, because when you're young and you're new, you're always snuggled up. But
Mhm.
once you get beyond that, we get so caught up. We got the kids, we got everybody else, and everybody goes to their own little section.
Um,
Everybody goes to their own little corner. And so he said, ladies, I want you to try this. He said, I promise you it's going to change your life. Of course, they got our attention.
mhm.
He said, I want you to try the 3 minute hug. And we all looked at him like, what? 3 minutes?
That's
And
a
he
long
said,
time.
3 minutes. And so he said, don't let him up. 3 minutes. And where it comes from, think back to when our babies were born. The first thing they did was to lay that baby on mommy and next to her skin.
Mhm.
And baby was able to hear your heartbeat and connect it through skin to skin. He said, find that spot that you can put your face and hug him. 3 minutes and stay there. And so, me, I tried it. I came I came home and it was like, oh, I'm gonna try this. And hubby was in his recliner, and I went over and I kind of moved his little collar, put my little head on him and hugged him and just stayed there. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this is the longest time ever. That 3 minutes. It's like, geez, how many minutes has it been yet? Is it 3 minutes yet? And and he's going, are you okay? But then it's he liked it. So
It's like that hand will come around you and snuggle
yes.
you up a little bit.
And it was like, oh. And so then a day or so later, I came back over and snuggled in, gave him that 3 minute hug again. He didn't fight it that time. He wasn't concerned about how long it was. But that first time, he was wiggling, geez, okay, are you done? I'm trying to watch the football game. I'm trying to watch the basketball game, whatever it was. But after that, when I came over for that 3 minute hug, he loved it. I do it even today. And I get the same reaction every time of, huh, okay.
Mhm,
And he
mhm.
snuggles in. Now, ladies, it was a game changer. It was a game changer because at that time, he was traveling 5 days a week.
Oh.
5 days a week. He'd leave on Sunday come back late Friday night, and I had Saturday and part of the day on Sunday with him.
Mhm.
That 3-minute hug made a difference.
Mhm.
It was significant. And so it was something that I even continued. Plus,
Mhm.
I got to the point where I would start leaving little notes in his suitcase.
Mhm.
Sometimes I would spray something with cologne and stick it in the suitcase. So when he got wherever he was, he didn't know it was down. Of course, he said he hated it because but then I put it on in a Ziploc bag. But he said, everything smelled like your cologne. I said, oh. And that was the first time. But then the second time, it's like, oh, okay. I see you left me something.
Mhm.
But you know what? It's the little things. It goes back to what
Yes.
we were saying. It's the little things that you do that you don't even think will make a difference. So when I saw that pastor again, it was I went straight to him and I said, I just can't tell you the difference that it made. And he said, you know why I know? Because my wife used it on me. And we both just fell out laughing.
Mhm.
He said, and now when she even looks like she's coming, I get I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Come on over here. And it was so funny. But they like it. They like it. Charlene said, well, first we'll start here. Madison said, I think older women like you two use the Bible and look the other way view to stay in marriages when the men were cheating for years. I bet y'all have both been cheated on. Well, Madison, that's interesting. You know what? I have to say, I know that not to be true. And so I pray that you may have experienced that, but I haven't experienced that in my marriage. So we'll go with that. All right, Charlene, hubby likes when
Well,
I.
let me just say one other thing too.
Mhm,
I won't say that people necessarily look the other way either.
mhm,
Um, but what you do is you make a decision that we're in this for the long haul,
mhm,
and you make a decision together that we're going to stay in the marriage and we're going to do what we need to do for the both of us if it's a good thing for the both of us. So no one is saying that you should accept poor behavior. We're not saying
oh
that
no,
at
oh
all,
no,
not by
oh
any means
no.
at all. Um,
Mm-mm.
but one thing though that my grandfather told my mom, because my dad was hell on wheels, um, just to be frank.
I know.
But he was 89 when he died. They had been married
Mhm,
more than 62 years. But from
mhm,
what I can remember, he was hell on wheels when I was a
mhm,
child. But my grandfather told her, you got to collect your dividends. And
mhm,
what he meant by that was, for those of you that, like we don't talk much about dividends these days, but
mhm,
it's a matter of you put money in the bank and the money grows and then you get a certain amount of interest rate paid on it, your dividends paid on whatever. And he's like, look, you done put in all these years. Now it's time for you to collect the dividends.
mhm,
Which he did because my father did change. And the last 20 or so years were very nice. He was a completely
mhm,
different person. And
mhm,
so it was worth the two of them struggling through it to get
mhm,
together, to not to get together, but to work things out. But no
mhm,
one is suggesting by any means
mhm.
the other way, by any means.
And I think it's important too to know that all men don't cheat.
True.
That's one thing,
Yes,
we can't assume that.
exactly. All
And
men don't cheat. A lot
and
of them do.
sometimes it works the other way.
Oh,
You
you're
know,
right.
it's
Sometimes it's the
it's
women that's cheating. Because my
mhm.
husband always says, well, they cheating with somebody.
Yep.
So,
Yep. So, we have to think of that. But
mhm.
Madison, we hope that you are fortunate enough to have a lasting relationship. Charlene said that her hubby likes it when she holds onto his arm when they're walking together, and then he puts his hand over hers, and it's very affectionate
Mhm.
for us both. And I'm gonna kind of touch back on that, Denise. I'm gonna circle back, as you say. My mom always said that. As wives, we are wives, we are mothers,
Mhm.
and sometimes we have to approach that situation of a different mindset,
Yes.
in that we have to look at the relationship also from the standpoint of that person who's standing on the outside.
Yes.
Because sometimes there are people who purposely are standing on the outside, see a good relationship, they want it,
Mhm.
and they will attempt to take it away.
Mhm.
And so we got to work at it, because it's not easy to keep that going.
No.
Um,
And the
Vicky.
other thing too is you have to look at when you talk about the person on the outside, but you also have to look at the people on the inside that's
Mhm,
observing the relationship. And I will say that there are decisions that I made in my marriage that I
mhm,
made based on the fact that I wanted to set a good example for my daughter and
mhm,
my sons. I
mhm.
wanted them to know what was acceptable in a relationship and what was not. So there were decisions that I made that affected the family, but that
Mhm,
let them know some things are acceptable and some things are not.
mhm.
Because you have to be aware of the legacy that you're creating for your family.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true. So Vicky's on with us. We're glad you made it, Vicky, from
Girl,
South
you don't want to
Carolina.
watch the replay. Watch the
Oh,
replay.
crafty Scorpio. She said that's super sweet, and she said, the 3 minute hug, girl, try it. It's a game changer.
I
It
might
is.
again tonight.
The 3 minute hug. She said she's going to have to try that. Uh, and Terry, you're absolutely right. All men don't cheat. Um, Vicky said, "Amen. All men don't cheat. Praise the Lord." So Amy is saying that, amen, both of us handled that comment well, and hugs from Indiana. We are so glad you're here with us and
Yes.
appreciate your being here with us. Now, ladies, we want relationships that are thriving, those that are growing. And we have to be able to sacrifice. And we've talked about all of those things tonight. But also, we want to be friends.
Yes.
We want to be friends with the person that we're with.
Mhm.
And so we want to be able to keep that friendship alive,
Mhm.
because, we had that hot newlywed romance when we started.
Mhm.
I kind of want to keep that hot newlywed romance even after 50 years. Might look a little different, might not look as good as it did back in those days, but I'm trying to, we're working it, right? We're
Mhm.
using our layers and levels of smells, but um, we want to have strong relationships. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping that all of you have been able to take away something from the things that we've talked about tonight. And as we close tonight, some of you may be in long marriages. Some of you may just be in new commitments. Some of you may have partners you're thinking about or
Mhm.
hoping for. And think about this. First Corinthians says that love is patient, love
Mhm.
is kind, it does not envy, it
Mhm.
does not boast, it isn't proud, it doesn't dishonor others, it is not self seeking,
Mhm.
it is not easily angered, it
Mhm.
keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth.
Mhm.
It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails.
Mhm.
But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be still. And where there is knowledge, it will pass away. So keep those things in mind. And Miss Denise, you've got some announcements I know to make and to talk
Oh,
about.
yeah. Well, before I make my announcement, I wanted to back up for a second.
Mhm.
Amy Lou made a comment way back at 8:55.
Okay.
She said, I love both your channels. And do you think a couple should still make time for date nights with a young toddler of 2? And she's here from my home state. She's saying love from Indiana.
Mhm.
And let's just say, yes, you do want to make time for date nights with that young toddler. If you're home, like when I say home, like where you guys grew up, you've got family in the community, maybe even if it's only once a month, a family member can watch the baby for you so you guys can go out and just have a little time together, because you want to keep that time going, continue to build your relationship, and it's not all focused on the baby. Maybe you just go out for coffee and dessert. You don't stay out
Mhm.
very long. Or it could be that date night, if you don't have anybody to watch the baby, might need to take place once you get baby put to bed. But at 2 years old, that baby should be in the bed no later than 8 o'clock, so that you have the rest of the evening to spend a little time with each other. So yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that. I thought, well, let me
good.
just bring that up.
I'm glad you caught that. But
Yeah, no,
too, um, with that date night, once a baby's in bed, have a plan.
yes.
Have a plan. I'm not saying every night. Every night is not going to be that night that you're just going to do something wild and crazy. But have a plan.
Hmm.
If it's nothing but going to get 2 cups of tea and sitting, if that's what you like, your beverage of choice, and snuggling up under a blanket, if it's, cool. And, or in some cases, it may be that you want to go and read together or listen to music together or whatever it is. It's about the togetherness, taking intentional time. And that's the key word, intentional time
Yes.
with the other person. And because we've been there where we've had those babies, and it's
Hmm.
hard. It's hard. And I know I had a baby. I was in school working on the masters and
Hmm.
going to work every day.
Yes. Been there,
So
done that.
I was wiped when I got home. But once I put those kids to bed, it was all about hubby and I. And
Mhm.
so, and we have to make it that way.
Yeah, you do. Because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, the kids are going to grow up and they're going to
Mhm.
leave home and start their own lives. And then it's going to be the two of you, hopefully, left there in the home together. And you want to have in, something in, oh, shoot, something together. You want to have something to build on, something that you can
Mhm.
just sit and talk. And, I watch a lot of fishing shows.
Me
I watch
too.
a lot of ESPN, could care less
Mhm.
about fishing shows and ESPN. But now that he's retired, he doesn't have a lot of other people. I talk to his fishing buddies, but I'm the
Mhm.
person he talks to most. I'm
Mhm.
learning to appreciate some of those things, because there are things that I want to talk about. He don't want to talk about canning or aprons or some of the stuff that I want to talk about, but he listens and we can have those
Mhm.
conversations together. So
Mhm. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Ronnie saying she agrees that date nights are a must, even if it's just snuggling up to watch a movie. You're
yeah.
absolutely right. And we have our little list of movies of things that we watch. Now, Sister Isaac, we're glad you're here with us. She said she left an abusive marriage. She said now she's alone. And how does she get her self esteem and sexy back? What can she do for herself?
Well, let me just say this. I am so glad that you were able to exit the marriage. It takes
Mhm.
a lot of courage to do that.
Yes.
And when you leave an abusive relationship, for those of you that don't know, when you exit the relationship is the most dangerous time, because now
Mhm.
you're out of his control. That's the most dangerous time. So I applaud you for being able to exit the marriage.
Mhm.
And now you're alone. So you're in a rebuilding time. I would
Mhm.
encourage you to go to counseling if your insurance will afford you to be able to do that, because seeing someone that you can talk through some of the things that happen and some of the feelings that you have can help you begin to grow that confidence. But taking on that black girl shower routine that we talked about last week, that is one way to get your sexy back, because you're
Mhm.
building that whole ritual is empowering for you. It's for
Mhm.
you to feel good about yourself, to pamper yourself. So that's where I would start. And then get to know
Absolutely.
yourself again before
Mhm.
you think about getting into another relationship, so that you can leave that baggage behind, because you don't want to bring that with you to the
Mhm.
new relationship. Now, I'm not saying go into a new relationship with closed eyes. I'm not
That's
saying that.
right.
But I'm just saying you don't want to, like you said earlier, all men don't cheat, all men are not abusive.
That's
So
right.
the next man that you have a relationship with may be perfectly kind and sweet and one that will cherish you.
Mhm.
So yeah, so if you can afford counseling, I would certainly do that.
Mhm.
Most insurances will pay for it for 6 weeks. 6 weeks is not long enough.
Mhm.
If that's where you are, that's where you are. If you can go
Mhm.
longer, go. And sometimes they will arrange a payment for you that once your insurance runs out, they will let you come at that rate, which is
Mhm.
lower than if you had to just, pay without insurance.
Mhm.
So that's something to consider. And again, do some things to fill up your cup. Maybe
Absolutely.
get involved in some other activities, some organizations, some women's
Mhm.
groups. Just get involved in some fun stuff so you can
Mhm.
just start enjoying life again and having some fun, getting to know yourself. What do you think, Lee?
I think you're absolutely right. At this point, it's all about you.
Yes.
And, I think sometimes, we're still thinking, well, because you miss him and you're disappointed that the situation didn't work out.
Hmm.
And that is disappointing.
Hmm.
But this is about you
Hmm.
finding safety to be able to be safe.
Hmm.
And so, to some extent, you're almost getting to a point of where you're almost relearning how to trust
Yes.
yourself.
Yes.
And so, take the time for you. Do things that you enjoy doing. If it's going to the library and finding a book that you love, if it's finding that special movie that you like. I know of people who have taken the focus off of, you're not looking for another relationship at this point,
Hmm.
because that's not something, at this point you're probably a little nervous about
Hmm.
jumping into something else. And so find who you are. And once you find who you are and just live in that, and you'll be surprised, because eventually somebody's going to notice that and
Yes.
see who you are, and they will appreciate who you are, and
Hmm.
you will know them
Hmm.
when you see them.
Right.
And so, at this point, find Sister Isaac.
Yes.
Focus on you. Focus on you. And if that means, if you can on a certain day, go and get your nails done,
Hmm.
or go get a pedicure, or find other ladies who are single and uh, you have a chance to go out, or you might take a weekend trip and go here. But
Hmm.
do things that you enjoy doing, and
Fun.
don't worry about anything, because at this point you're trying to get you back
Yes.
strong. That's what you want. And I noticed that we've got Clarissa is sharing. She says, Sister Isaac, she knows what you're going through, but she said she'll tell you what helps. Find yourself a good group of like minded girlfriends. The next relationship will come, but first, get back to you. Clarissa, you are so
Absolutely
right.
right.
You are absolutely right. Absolutely right. All right, Miss Denise, tell us.
Okay, so my announcement. So you guys know that first of all, let me just say me and Miss Leona are actually two separate channels.
Mhm.
So if you have not joined both either family, please take care and do that. However, Miss Leona is working her way to 5K. So if you've not joined her channel, please do so that she can hit that 5,000 subscriber mark. We're trying to get her there so y'all can push her along. And then for those of you that are regulars on my channel, I've been doing a lot of water bath canning, and people have been asking questions about it. So I put together a course called Yes You Can, a beginner's guide to water bath canning, and it should be available to all of you within the next 2 weeks. We've had our beta testing done on Monday, and so now we're fine tuning it and tweaking it. It should be up on the course platform within the next 2 weeks. And so sign up to be on the waiting list so that you know when it goes live. So you can sign up on my newsletter, which I do have it in the description box below. Sign up for my newsletter because I will send out the announcement in the newsletter first and then on my email list. So I'm really excited about that.
We're so excited. So excited. And don't forget Apron Diva girls.
Oh yeah, I got my apron on the door back there. So yes.
Absolutely.
I had so many different aprons on in that series.
So I loved it because I saw one I hadn't seen before, and it's like, oh, I like that one too. You know, I can't remember now, but it was one of them you had on. It was like, oh, I love that. And certainly, please, when the class comes about, please sign up because it really is a great class, and I know that you will enjoy it. And it's, canning is a lot of fun. And it benefits you, benefits the family. And I know I can typically close to holidays, so I can give them away and as a part of the gift. So, and then it's just nice to have some on the shelf of something that you have done. And it makes you feel so good. Now, guys, we have had a fantastic night tonight. And I certainly hope that all of you have benefited in some way. And if nothing else, it reminded you of some of the things that you do. And it may have refreshed your memory of some of the things you used to do that maybe you might want to kick back into. And so we have worked together, put our heads together. And for those of you who are going to catch the replay, please share with us your thoughts along the way. Also this week, be sure to let us know what things in self-care that you might like for us to talk about, because we've still got a little more left of the month, because next month we're going to kick in and we've got another group of topics that we're going to be talking about. So let's try to get in and get our self-care taken care of. So we've taken care of ourselves before it's time to start taking care of our babies, getting them back into school.
Yes.
So I hope that you've had a great time. Miss Denise, thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
This has been so much fun. And for those of you in the chat, thank you for being here tonight. So it's getting late. Don't want to keep everybody up, but I hope that you have an absolutely amazing week. And we will see you next Wednesday at Homemaking with Purpose with Miss Denise. So have a great evening.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.